the becoming is headed straight towards you, right? We're taking actions, we're doing the things, we are becoming the person, we're not being passive, right? We're doing the things. And there's still a time and space where you've got to wait for that to show up. You've got to wait for it to be familiar, for it to be a normal. You've got to wait for it to be how you are now. Welcome to Breakthrough Mode, the podcast where we intentionally get into the driver's seat of our lives, shift out of monotony and mediocrity, and step on the gas towards becoming the person we were always meant to become. Hello and welcome to episode 264 on the Breakthrough Mode podcast. I am your host, Megan Bauer. Thank you so much for joining me and pushing play on today's episode. Today, we are wrapping up our week-long theme of staying in the space. And this has been a really interesting week and a really interesting topic to live with for a week, even for me. And here's why. We just finished up a month-long decluttering series where we decluttered 4 different areas of your life: the physical, the digital, the mental, and your identity. And the impulse is to jump into what's next. What are we doing now? What are we filling it with? What's going to go there? Now that we have all this space, now that it's all cleared out, what are we doing instead? We want to jump right there. Even I wanted to jump right there as I was thinking about this episode. I was thinking about what I was going to give to you this week. Even I wanted to jump there. I wanted to be like, all right, here's where we're going next. Here's what we're filling it with. However, that's not how things actually work. When you leap from one building to another, there is a time and a space where you are hanging out in between the two. I'm not talking about a step from one building to another. I'm talking about a leap. When you gotta run and you gotta jump it. If you were to just step, you wouldn't make it. You gotta run and you gotta leap. There's a space where you are in between the two. So when we are on our journey of becoming, it's so easy to be like, okay, well, I'm going to stop doing this habit and I'm going to start doing this one. And we just want a 1-for-1 trade-off immediately. It's like, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to do this instead. That can work for a habit when you are trading out habits. That can work. Because, instead of reaching for the soda, I'm going to put the water bottle in the same place that I put the soda. I'm going to grab my water bottle instead. When we are talking about becoming and we are talking about identity and we are talking about how we show up and who we are being, there's not a 1-to-1 direct trade-off. There is a space where you are not quite who you were, and you're not quite who you want to be. So, if you're jumping from one building to another, this week is that space in between. And this week, it's important to actually hold that space in between, especially when you are looking at your identity, when you are looking at who you are being and who you are becoming, because the becoming is headed straight towards you, right? We're taking actions, we're doing the things, we are becoming the person, we're not being passive, right? We're doing the things. And there's still a time and space where you've got to wait for that to show up. You've got to wait for it to be familiar, for it to be a normal. You've got to wait for it to be how you are now. And if you don't wait for it to become who you are now, what will happen instead is you will go back to being who you have been, because that's familiar. It's not scary. We know how to be that person. We've been that person for years. But we decided that we don't want to be that person. We decided we wanted to be a newer version of ourselves, an upgraded version of ourselves, a version of ourselves who does cool things and lives a cool life, and a person, we decided we wanted to become this version of ourselves. But it's going to take time for you to fully integrate into being that person, to being that version of you. And if you don't hold the space, then you will just slip back into being who you were previously, because it's normal, it's familiar, and being in the gap is uncomfortable. A lot of the times when we're on weight loss journeys, right, it doesn't happen fast enough. I wish I could just lose all the weight right now. I want to eat this magic cookie and lose everything immediately. And it doesn't happen that way. It happens over the course of weeks or months or a year or years, depending on how you choose to do it and whatever, all the factors. It depends. The point is that it takes time, and people give up on it because it's not happening fast enough. And there are multiple reasons why people will give up on it, why they'll lose it and then regress and blah, 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 all of which are tied to identity. Because if you truly believe that you are the kind of person who, is this level of physically fit, then you will do all of the necessary actions, hold all of the necessary space for that version of you to show up. If you truly believe that this is who you are going to be, who you are meant to be, then all of the time it takes, all of the actions it requires, you'll just do. You'll just give it whatever it requires. The problem is when we're in that in between, we don't quite have evidence that we can be that person that we want to be, and we start freaking out a little bit because we don't know what to do. So then we just go back to being who we've always been. And that's not the point. That is not the point. Instead, you need to embrace this space in between. This space where you're not quite who you were and you're not quite who you want to be yet. And this is where being intentional on a daily, maybe hypervigilant basis is really important. Because if you are intentional about how you are showing up, you are intentional about continually directing yourself towards becoming that version of you, simply by being intentional, you will avoid being reactionary and slipping back into who you used to be, into that familiarity, is a reactionary response to discomfort. It's just, I'm uncomfortable. I don't know what to do. So I'm just going to be who I've always been. I'm going to show up the way I've always shown up because I don't know what to do, because this person hasn't quite shown up yet. I haven't quite fully stepped into them yet. And I don't know what to do. Like, I'm at a loss. So the point of this week has been to train yourself to simply stay in that space. It's always really interesting to me when people are uncomfortable with silence in a conversation, right? Like maybe you're chatting with an acquaintance or somebody new or whatever, and you don't quite have that level of familiarity and rapport, that silence feels like it's going to kill the relationship. It just feels detrimental. And so we can't hardly even stand it. We have to fill it with something. But when you can embrace that silence, it actually brings something deeper forward. It brings this feeling of, I'm being intentional about what I say. I'm listening meaningfully. I am meaningfully engaged in this conversation, and I'm waiting to see what emerges for you or for me. I'm not reacting. I'm not reacting to what you're saying. I'm not reacting to the thoughts in my head. I'm allowing this to actually sit. But instead of seeing the silence as this intentional way to actually deepen the engagement with somebody, we see it as a flaw in our ability to converse. We're like, oh, I wasn't thinking fast enough. I didn't know what to say. They didn't know what to say, whatever. When sometimes we've all been in those conversations where you're talking and the other person just can't wait to respond because they are sitting in that reactionary mode, not truly deeply listening. So think of it that way. When you put in that level of intention on the way you show up and the actions that you take, yeah, things are going to be a little bit slower because you aren't operating out of habit right now. You are intentionally creating your new set of habits, your new way of showing up, how you are as this different new version of you. You're creating that in real time. And so that's going to slow things down. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to feel like you're fumbling around. And all of that is okay. Because as long as you are in this space of intention, I intend to be this version of me, no matter how uncomfortable it is, no matter how much silence I need to endure, no matter how long it takes, no matter what's required. When you have that laser focus and intention, then you will always get there. It will always happen because that's what you're focused on. You've decided you're not going backwards. It doesn't matter how uncomfortable you are. It doesn't matter how unfamiliar things are. It doesn't matter how slow things are. Because the more you put in the time, the more you put in your reps, the easier it'll get. You'll start to build new habits as the new version of you. You'll do things differently on default, and you won't have to be so hyper vigilant about it anymore. This is hard though, because there are a lot of uncomfortable emotions, thoughts, and feelings as we sit in this gap. We're going to experience doubt about the direction that we're going, doubt that maybe we make the right choice, doubt about what did I just let go of, doubt about even our ability to get there, maybe even our ability to be that person. Because we're in this space where maybe the proof hasn't shown up yet, and we're not even sure if we can actually make it happen. But the thing is that if you regress back to who you've been, you definitely won't make it happen. So your only choice there is to just press forward and see what becomes available on the other side as you continue in this space. In addition to the doubt, we have a lot of fear because if we can't get there, we're like, what does that mean about me? What does that mean about what I'm capable of? What does that mean about my worth? What are other people going to think? We have all of this fear connected to staying in this space of uncertainty, the space in between who it is you have been and who it is you want to become. And nobody likes to sit in fear. Fear is the worst. And when we are operating out of fear, we are always going to choose what's comfortable, what's safe, what we've done before, which is who we have been previously. So instead of choosing that way, you get to acknowledge, yeah, this is a little scary. And I know that if I keep doing my part, I know that if I keep moving forward, if I keep holding space for this person, that if I keep holding space for this version of me, if I keep acting with intention, things are going to be different. And isn't it awesome to rest in the fact that you have handled absolutely everything that has happened in your life so far? I love that perspective shift because we get so worried about the what ifs, maybe I can't handle it, and blah, blah, whatever, all this noise. But when you actually sit down and look at the facts, everything that's happened in your life, you've made it through. You've handled it. You've done it. You got through it. Whether you got through it messily or whether you got through it with flying marks, you got through it. And so your track record is 100%, which means that no matter what this next step is for you, you're going to make it through that too. You're going to figure it out. You're going to handle it. It's just inevitable because you have a 100% track record. You're undefeated. You have handled it. Now, being proud of how you've handled it or liking how you've handled it are maybe on the side there. They're commentary and opinions and perspectives. But the absolute fact is that you've figured it out. You've made it through and you've gotten to the other side. So, this fear that we feel in the in between doesn't have to make any decisions about where you're headed and what you choose and how you act from this space. We are also extremely impatient. Like I mentioned with the weight loss example, we just want it to happen right now. And when we are operating from a place of impatience, we're not being intentional. We just want this specific situation to be over. And I think that this is actually the reason why most people give up, because it's not happening fast enough. And honestly, I can see this in my own life when I am looking back at my own actions, my own behaviors, my own reactions, if we're honest. And I can see where I gave up on things because I just wasn't patient enough. So you have to acknowledge here that it's going to take time. And unfortunately, I can't tell you how much time it's going to take. But I can tell you that the more intentional you are, the more focused you are, and the more you move in that direction, both with your actions, your thoughts, and your intentions, the faster it will happen. Now, I've had people say things like that to me, and I'm like, faster? Faster relative to what? I always think it's funny when I come home a new way and Jake asks me, was it faster? And I'm like, I don't know. I didn't take the other way. So I can't tell you if it was faster or not, but I can tell you how long it took. And so it feels like that's not really actually helpful. However, tell yourself that by you doing your part, by you showing up as the next version of you, more often than not, you are slowly bringing yourself closer into being that person. So while I can't tell you how long it will take, it's also easy to understand that it will take longer if you don't act with intention, if you don't have laser focus, if you aren't continually moving towards being that person, because duh, you're not doing the work. But if you're doing the work and you're doing the work more often than not, then it's inevitable. You will step into being someone new because you have stopped being that other version of you. But there's this space in between. And love it or hate it, you got to deal with it, because the alternative is going back to who you have been. And we already decided that we wanted something new. We want to be something new. We want to have a different experience of life. And if you want all of that, you can have it. And it's going to require this period of time, this uncomfortable, scary, doubt-filled period of time where you aren't quite who you used to be, and you're not quite who you want to be yet either. But you got it. You are totally capable. I totally believe in you, and I totally love you. Bye for now.